You said that the Phil Heath Classic was like being on cloud nine.
Yes.
Can you kind of elaborate on that more? Why is that?
It ran so smoothly. I mean, it was my first show ever, so I didn't know what to expect, and my coach was not there. A lot of the coaches were backstage, so the events, coordinators, everyone who was working there just made it so simple, very relaxed. I mean, they already know we're tired, we are very low calories. I mean, and so they just made sure we were there, and then just getting on that stage when you just worked your butt off for I mean, over 16 weeks, yes, but you did all the bulking before then, and you're like, this is just your time to shine. Like, the work is done. You have the suit, you have the heels, you have the makeup, and then you're just going on and you're just like, I'm gonna have fun. And so just being on that stage, having the lights, and then having my dad was in the front row. He was there with me. Just video. I saw him and he was just videoing and just it just felt like it was where I was meant to be. Just being on stage was just the best feeling ever, and I was like, I don't care I win, I don't care if I get last, it was just I did it, I proved myself that I could do something challenging, and I did, and so it was just a fun feeling, and I was like, "Oh, it's over," and I was like, "Hey, when's my next one?" And so um, that's what it felt like, and then even when I was done, I was like, "Oh," it just felt incredible.
Yeah,
So
time flies when you're having fun.
it really does. I mean, just went by a blur. They're like, "Take it, soak it all in." And that's what I wanted to do, but I mean, it just everything does go by fast because 'cause you're doing this and that. You have to go back, check in, get your tan, do the makeup and the hair, but it was just an amazing experience, so
What did you and your dad do between prejudging and finals? Did y'all do anything?
yes, so I went back to the hotel. I had to check back in with my coach, and then she was like, "You need to do a little bit of cardio." So I was like, "All right, so I'm gonna go do my."
Really?
I had to do a little bit of cardio, and just she was like very slow, inclining. She goes, "Just really squeezing the glutes, just push through the heels." So he was like, "All right, I'm going to the pool. I'm going to the bar. I'll see you later." And I was like, "I'll be on the treadmill." So I did that, and then she goes, "Take in." I think I had like a little bit of lunch. Sip. She's like, "Sip on water." I wasn't able to chug anything, and then she goes, "Take a nap." And I was like, "All right." She goes, "Put your feet up to make sure you're not swelling." And that's what I did. I didn't think I was gonna take a nap because I was so, like, hyped up, and I was dancing around the hotel room, and my dad's like, "You're going crazy right now." No, once I put my head down, feet up, I was out. It was a good, like, hour nap, and I was like, "Alright, I'm ready for finals now. We're doing this." So, that's what I did.
Said your dad was the MVP. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
Oh, yes. So, well, kinda taking back, I did competitive cheerleading since grade school, and so he has always been that dad in the stands at my competitions, always there. And so telling him I'm gonna do this bodybuilding, he was like, "All right, I'm gonna be there." He didn't know what it was gonna be about. He's like, "I'm just here, whatever you need." So he drove all the way there and back. Um, he made sure I mean, even driving there to the convention center and back to the hotel, he drove there. It was like a 10-minute drive, but he drove. I was like trying to do my hair. He was getting my meals ready. Um, he was like, "What else do you need?" I was like, "I need to get my shoes. Can you get my shoes? Can you take these pictures? Can you make sure I'm here at this time?" And he did. He was just, he just made sure I was calm because I get very like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not doing this." He's like, Just calm down, just chill out." He goes, "Go play some music." And that's what he did. I mean, he got all the videos, and my coach was like, "Make sure your dad sends me the videos too." And so I mean, he was even communicating with my coach. So, just to make sure she's like, "What does she need to do to be better? What does she need to do?" I mean, he's just he's that. So he was the MVP. I mean, just the most amazing supporting person. And then I did have another friend there who was also taking videos and, making, just I had a good support there. I had a really good support team when I was at the Phil Heath Classic, so
Mhm. When you were on stage, did you look at your dad a lot?
I did, especially when we were lining up, or in diagonal. Um, I was seeing him and he's like, you just he sees the camera, he's like, he's that, the dad that's like so proud and everything. Um, and I saw him and I was like, it just kind of made me feel like, okay, I'm not here by myself.
Mm.
Um, unfortunately, my mom did pass away a few years ago, and he was even like, "Your mom's here with you," and, when even I got off the stage, she was like, he was like, "Your mom would've been so proud." And my mom has always been, like, loving to watch me perform, so I even felt like even when I was on stage, she was still there, and, like, just being on stage looking at him, I was like, She's right there by him." So it's so cool to be seeing that, like, I had that support and that love because I couldn't have made it without him.
Mm.
Even, like, going through this, prep, it was hard, I was crying, I had people who said who I wasn't gonna do it, I wasn't gonna go anywhere, and my dad was like, F them, you're gonna do it, just keep your head low."
You
Z
look. I've been to about 70 plus shows,
Yeah.
working them as part of James Allen Media's
Yes.
photography team, and you look great. You just look
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, it was legit.
It was so cool to get that video from you, I didn't even know you were doing that, and so, I mean, it made me cry, I was like, "Oh my."
Did your dad see it?
I did. I mean, I sent it to, like, so many people. I was like, "Look, y'all, look at this." I'm like, "What?" And then just seeing that and, like, watching that, I was like and just different the angles you did, I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like, so
Love the video. Techie story. This is the nerd in me. Like 2 days before I compiled your video together, I had to upgrade my software, my
Mhm.
editing software, and there was a couple of things I haven't upgraded in like 8 years.
Yeah.
Not a big deal because this wasn't a big deal,
Right.
but I had to upgrade because the company made me basically, and I made a couple of mistakes I wasn't familiar with this new upgrade that I've corrected, but like there are a couple of things like there's a little graphic on the bottom left of your video that, like, if you look at it really closely, there's something squiggly.
Okay. I wouldn't have noticed that, but, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's really kind of annoying, but anyway.
That's okay. I wouldn't have known. I thought it was great. So, I was like, "Wow, this is so cool." I mean, just so I think it was A+ plus work. So, from a teacher point, A+ plus check.
What about your two sisters? Are they watching?
They were well, my sister, even then, they were so supportive, and they sent me flowers or wished me luck. They're like, What's going on?" And especially, they didn't, none of my family really knew how the bodybuilding shows worked. They didn't understand there was prejudging and then a long break and then finals. So they're like, "Okay." So I did my prejudging and they're like, "What place did you get?" And I was like, "Well, right now I'm splitting like between first and second. They were switching me around here." And they're like, "So what does that mean?" So it, it was kind of teaching them too. But they were just like, "We're so proud of you." And because they understood this is something I love doing. They saw the work, they saw me pushing. I mean, I started prep on Christmas Eve. So I was like, "Oh, I can't have any pumpkin pie. I can't eat anything." And they were there supporting me, every trip that we took together, um, Easter, anything. I was like, "I can't eat what you guys are eating." And they're like, "We totally understand that." And then they saw and they're like, "Wow, you just look amazing." So they just knew that it was important to me and they're going to support that because that's just how we were taught in our family. We support each other. And again, just knowing that having them, even though they weren't there in person, they were there in spirit and I could do it again. So they're awesome. I love
Mm.
my sisters.
Well, your sister just got married, I think, recently.
They did. Well, both of them are married. So one did get married 2 days before my birthday, actually. So funny. But she got married in September. So they'll be having their first anniversary this September. They love my brother in law. Both of them are just amazing. Uh, so it's just, and even them, they're like, I mean, their boys are like, "Hey, good job. You lift weights? Yeah, that's cool." I'm like, "Thanks, man." So then sometimes they will come and ask me, like, "Hey, how do you do this? How do you do that?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I get to share yeah, I lift." So, mm,
I think you and I have something in common. Uh, this is my last year in my 30s. Is
oh,
this your last year in your 20s?
yes.
Bingo. That's
Oh, look at us.
That's
There's a little air fire right there.
that's why I was telling you before we started recording. These mics are so annoying. We can't really.
I can't, or it's like a seatbelt when you're like, you can't move.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know. I turned 30 in September,
Um,
which
you don't seem too happy about it.
it's one of those where I'm like, it's like I actually am excited because 20s you're trying to find yourself. See, I told you I was going to hit this. You're trying to find yourself. you are learning who your real friends are, what you're doing with your life. I mean, so it was tough. And now I'm a whole different person than I was in my early 20s. What I wanted early 20s is not what I want now. And I'm like, okay, I'm going into a whole new decade stronger, wiser, and ready to face it. While in my 20s, I was naive. I thought I knew. But sometimes I'm at the same time like, am I really going to turn 30? Like, I still feel like sometimes I'm like, I'm not mature enough to be 30 or I'm not there yet. So,
30's still super young.
I mean, you know what? It's all about how you feel
Yeah.
at the same time, you know? But I'm just like, wow. Yeah.
I think I'm fine turning 40. I turned 40 in January.
Oh, you've got time.
Yeah. But, and you turned 30 in September.
I do. I got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Counting down the months.
I think when I hit 50, that'll be kind of weird.
I think that might be the one.
Yeah.
That might be the one. Because you're like, right in that halfway point kind of thing. I don't even know if that makes sense. But yeah.
50, you're still 100.
Exactly. You're like, oh, I made it 50. But then you also have to think, I am level 40. If you say it like that, or like I'm level 30,
Hmm.
that sounds more intense. You know what I mean? Like,
I was talking to a 102-year-old
oh,
like a couple months ago.
102.
She's 102. And I said, what's the secret to longevity? And I'm trying to remember what she said. She said, she was 3 things.
Okay.
Exclude in this old, beautiful voice of
Of
hers,
course.
exclude the toxic people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't smoke. And the third one is even more interesting. Eat blueberries. I was like,
Eat blueberry. The antioxidants, I guess.
yes.
I gotta add
Those are your 3
blueberries. That
things.
gonna go on the shopping list.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. There's actually blueberries right there.
Oh, see, you're already taking her advice. Look at that.
Well, I was already eating them.
Oh, okay. You said check.
She's pretty cool.
That's so cool. Is she still moving good though? Like she was able to like.
She does move good. She uses a walker.
I mean, at 102, and you're still moving.
And then she doesn't hear very well. So
That's
but,
okay.
yeah.
You were still having a conversation with her.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
She's in a home.
Yeah.
Like people taking care of her.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Like 102. I mean, think about that. She was born when? Like,
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
I mean, I can't even do the math right now. That's how much my brain is not working.
Yeah, I can't.
It's Wednesday.
1922, like
It's like, what?
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Like, think about the world, how that was right before the Depression and World War II. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm getting off topic.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm that nerd of like history. I love like the World War II era, and
Really?
I do. Yeah, I love reading documents.
The dictators scare me, but they're fascinating.
It's the psychology behind it. Like, I'm also like a true crime person. On my way here, I was listening to a true crime podcast, and
That seems to be a big deal with women.
I don't know what it is.
True crime.
I think it's yeah. For me, it's like the psychology behind it too. Understanding like the why did they do it, and a lot of times you back up like how they were brought up, and I think that's kind of like the teacher side of me too. Of like, what can I look into my students if there's any red flags that I can look for to make sure they're taken care of and everything, or if maybe they need a little bit more love, or they have a hard home life. Okay, I need to maybe give them maybe a little bit more attention and stuff. So, but I mean, just so I don't know. So I think if I ever went back to school or could do it over, I guess I would definitely kind of maybe do like the psychology or like true crime. But then I really couldn't. I don't know. But like, then again, like the crime scenes, I don't think I could do. All the gruesome.
Like the whole forensic files.
Yeah. But then I love watching it. It's weird. But then, they cut out all the bad stuff. So you're like, I don't see it all. But
Yeah.
actually seeing, like when people are describing it, I'm like, oh, that's intense. And then I don't have a very good poker face. So I would just be like, oh, like, like it just wouldn't work. But yeah.
Well, back to competing.
Yes.
Maria Thiakos, your suit. When you get the suit, you seem pretty excited.
Oh my, it was a dream just coming to life. So you meet with her. I already knew kind of what color I wanted. I wanted a blue.
She did DFW.
She's in Fort Worth, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, she's located at her house, so you can kinda talk to her about, like, "Okay, what are you wanting?" But I already went in, I was like, "I want blue. I want, like, a very just bold, royal color blue." So she was like, "Alright, these are the fabrics," and she kinda showed me some of the crystals. I said, "This, and the connectors," we made it, and I said, "Alright, this is what I want." So we just had, like, the blueprint, and then she's like, "Alright, I'll see you in so many months, and I'll get started on it." So we did the measurements in November, or my first measurements and, like, the blueprinting of, like, what do I want? So it's still hard to know. Okay, I'm like, "Okay, this is what I want," but it's still hard to see what it was really gonna look like. So then you go back, it was March, um, she has the suit, but it's not bedazzled, it's just the fabric. So you try it on with the connectors and you're like, "Oh, it's starting to come." And then next few weeks, she's like, "Alright, I'm gonna have it bedazzled." So you're like, "Okay." And she does it, she has it, like, closed in with the box. She videos you and, like, so you just zip it open and it's just there, this most beautiful, like, the color you want, the style you want, it's all yours, and it's just there. And so I was like, it was just more beautiful than I ever thought it would be. And then she's like, I was like, "I wanna try it on." She goes, "Well, go try it on then."
I didn't realize when you were opening the box that she was recording you.
Yeah, she knows how to do it all and everything, so she had it all. I didn't even know she was recording. I was like, "I wanna open it up." So opened it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." Just I literally was screaming, like, I was like, "Ah!" And, um, yeah, and then I put it on, I was like, you just feel yourself come to life too, because it's just like the cherry on top too. You know,
Mm.
you worked on this physique for so long, and then now you get to just add the prettiness to it. You put in the sweat, you put in the tears, now it's time for the beauty part.
On stage, you had a cool walk.
Thank
It's very, prancy, is it?
thank you. I think that's the years of cheerleading in me. You know, as a competitive cheerleader, I also coached it for many years. It was, you have to prove that you are the best. It does not matter what you did backstage, no matter how many times you busted, no matter what, you still have to prove that you're the best. And so that's kind of what, that mentality, I had to put that on the bodybuilding stage. So, I mean, I compare myself to a lot of the other girls, and I was like, "You know what? I am not maybe as conditioned as the other ones, but I can still bring a good attitude up there. I can still have that. I'm still good. I'm still the best here, and prove that I'm meant to be
Great,
on this
great
stage."
stage presence.
So, and that's what it was, and I was like, Why be nervous? You signed up to do this too. Like, it's at the end of the day, you know what you're gonna do. So might as well just show off what you got and just have fun with it. So, I mean, that was also lots of hours of practicing, doing sessions with, posing coaches and, um, even stretching and trying to, because you had to move your body, twist your body in ways you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah." So, and then just, looking yourself in the mirror, recording yourself, you're like, "Oh, I don't like it this way," and also seeing what competitor that you like, and you're like, "What do they do that you like about them? How can I add that into mine?" And stuff. So it was a lot of just also researching. I would sit for hours kinda scrolling through different Olympians' pages and being like, focused on their posing and kinda making it, "I like how they did this, I liked it this, I'm gonna put it together and make it my own." See, I hit it again. So, um, yeah, and then at the end, and again, I still think I have a lot of work to do. I still think I can tweak some things, but I'm excited that I'm starting off strong, in my opinion, and, um, just ready to I'm ready to keep working on it.
Did you watch any of Wellness in Arnold, which was in March?
I didn't watch I watched the Olympia live. I actually took off work
That was
to
in
watch,
November.
yes,
Yeah.
to watch the Olympia. I was like, "I need to watch this." I didn't I just watched, like, snippets of the Arnold.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, just kinda seeing the lineup, I was like, Franciella's gonna have it." It's between always Issa and Franciella, one of my favorite
Hmm.
athletes. I was really hoping Issa was gonna take it again. She is by far my favorite, but Franciella just came in, swept it. So proud of her. Um, but, Pittsburgh Pro is this weekend, and that is gonna be a lineup, and
Mhm.
so I'm definitely gonna
Is she
watch.
in that?
She's not, but there are 3 top 10 Olympian athletes on that, and it's gonna be a showdown. So you have the reigning champion of the Pittsburgh Pro there, the girl someone who placed 3rd at the Olympia, and then someone who placed, I wanna say, like, 7th? So very competitive, and then upcoming wellness athletes too. So I was like, "Ooh," I saw that lineup and I was like, "This is gonna be a showdown." So, I mean, just overall, the wellness division has just blew up. I mean, it is a new class. It's a new division in the IFBB Pro, and it's still kinda tweaking it, still kind of finding what's making wellness wellness, but of course, it's still that lower body dominant, but man, it's these athletes, these women's are pushing it, and they just look just magnificent, and they're role models, and I would just hope to be one of them and be on that stage with them one day.
Mhm.
That's the goal, that's the ultimate goal.
In your open class,
Mhm.
you were in first call out.
I was.
What was that like?
It was that was my goal, that was a checklist off. I was like, being first call out, it was amazing, and, I mean, I was going against girls who competed before. I mean, we were all trying to get our national qualification, and just knowing that I was up there with them was really cool, and kinda even felt like, "Okay, the judges believe that I have some kind of potential too." And then, of course, they were really switching us around. They were trying to figure out which of us is gonna be 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It was a battle, and that's what my coach said. She goes, "You are fighting it right now," and stuff, so it was really cool. I mean, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I was first call out," and
Mm,
everything, so it was really, again, another cloud 9 moment,
mm.
and then just being, I mean, I follow some of those girls on Instagram, and we're still talking, and then I get to follow their journey and, even look up to them. So they were just so much fun to even talk with backstage, and I I mean, I can't wait to relive it again. I still go back to those videos too, and I'm like, "Okay, it was a good moment. That was a good day."
Mhm. Do you think there's a chance you won't do another show this year?
There could be a chance. I did switch with a new coach and a new company. Haven't posted anything yet, kinda waiting for the official everything to be official, but I talked with my new coach, and we're gonna see kinda where that blood work is going, and then, all right, if it's good, let's see how long it's gonna take me to, kinda get back to normal or maybe start prepping again. If it's too crazy, then we're like, "Okay, we may have to wait till next year." And she's like, "My first thing is your health and your wellness overall." So she's like, "I'm not gonna put you back on stage if you're not ready to," because she's like, "Prep is hard. It's hard on your body, it's hard on your hormones, so, we're not gonna push you to a point where you can't do this again. If you wanna do this for the long run, you gotta do it slow." And I said, That's what I want. I wanna do this for the long run. So if that means it's gonna take longer, let's do that." And so, haven't no plans yet, but I would love to. But if not, that's okay. It's just not in the books. But I will be back on stage, but just keep watching and you're gonna find out.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is your food kinda transitioned a little bit back to normal, if you will, since the show ended?
Yes, but I still eat the same food I was on prep. I started eating, like, kinda my back to normal foods. My system went crazy.
Any, like, reverse dieting or anything like that?
Yeah, so I slowly had to so I was on a meal plan when I was on prep, and then I went to once I was done with the show, of course, the day of the show after you get done with everything, you can eat whatever you want, so definitely took advantage of that. But she's like, "All right, we're going to start reverse dieting now." So that means we're gonna slowly increase your diet, increase your calories, and, making sure you hit your macros. And just with that meal plan, I was taught what were the good source of proteins, what were the good source of carbs and the fats. And honestly, those worked for me. So I kind of kept that into my diet as of now, but I'm just eating more of it. So, I mean, like with the cream of rice, I'm still eating my cream of rice, just adding a little bit more of it. Or maybe I get to add the protein powder in. I actually didn't have any protein powder the last few weeks of my prep. They actually wanted all that out. So, got to get that back. And I used to eat peanut butter. I'm back to just, eating almond butter. I didn't like my peanut butter. I tasted it and I was like, this tastes horrible. And I was like, I'm going back to almond butter. The raw almond butter is my thing. Um, but yeah, so it's a slow process. I mean, there's certain things I'm like, it's the sweets. That's what I want. I just want the sweets. I have a big sweet tooth, but um, it's just finding that balance and making sure you still stay in those macros and those, because you don't want to get too big to the point where it's going to be hard for you to prep again and start losing. So, but yeah.
Last night was the first time I ever heard your voice.
Oh, really?
You're on Instagram and you're going after the cookies right after the show.
Oh, yes.
You're talking.
Oh, yeah.
Did your dad get this?
Yes. Or no, wait, it was my friend, actually.
Okay.
My friend Troy, he was there. Um,
Troy?
Troy, yes.
Good job, Troy.
Yes, Troy. He was there, because it was right before I was going back into finals. We were doing one lap around the vendors, and we saw the cookies, and I was like, "Those look good. Those are it." Well, they had the big cookies, but then they had the samples of the little ones, and I was like, "Well, I don't know which one to pick." And I was like, "Just give me the sample. I'm gonna eat all of them." Yes, for sure, I did eat all of them that night.
Yes.
Yes, so it was delicious. It was amazing.
There's a guy, he has an office here on this floor. Bavli Babawi. It's his awesome name.
That's
I was asking him, is there anything you want me to ask Katy Bishop? And he said, ask her, what is her relationship with food right now? Apparently, he thinks that's a cool question for bodybuilding.
my relationship with food. I've been learning to eat with intention. So I can get really into just eating, but not focusing on what I'm eating. So I'm watching TV maybe, or maybe I'm doing work and just kind of doing other things, but I'm not focusing. So that means I'm going to be eating more because I'm not focusing. So I learned to, if I'm eating, I need to actually pause and enjoy the meal I'm eating. I've learned to actually like my relationship has gotten better since I started bodybuilding. I've learned what works for my body, what my body needs to grow, what my body doesn't need, and that I don't need to have all this extra stuff. I don't, people say, oh, you need to eat all this and that. And I'm like, no, I got to do what I need to do. And so I'm just finding that right rhythm. Um, and just doing what works for me too. So again, I would say the only thing I would say was hard for me is just those sweets. I love just
Me
the
too.
ice cream, the cookies, the brownies. If I was in Candyland, I would just be a big fat person and I'll be happy, but I'll be very fat. But yeah, it definitely has changed since starting it. And I'm almost so blessed about that because I never knew I could have a better relationship with food.
Mm.
I respect food a little bit more too.
Mhm.
I'm like, because this is going to fuel my body. It's not just I'm eating it because I'm bored or eating it because, oh, they're eating it. I'm eating this because it's going to fuel my body and it's going to help me lose weight or it's going to help me gain the muscle I need.
I wish I had better my relationship with food right now is kind of, my food is so bland right now. But it's just like,
It's hard.
yeah.
It's hard. And it's at the beginning, it's always hard, especially when you start dieting or changing things up. And everyone's like, oh, I love food too much. I could never do it. And I was like, well, you're already setting your mind that you're not going to do it. And it's like, that's part of the bodybuilding. This is going to be hard. But it takes a few weeks, it takes your body to get adjusted to it. Then once you train your body, you almost have to tell your body, yes, I know this is not the best tasting, but you're going to thank me later. And then after a while, you're like, okay. And then you kind of start craving the same thing a little bit more because you're like, I do feel better after, if that makes sense. So,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Cool. Bavli, there's your question. Hope you enjoyed that. There was a brief moment on stage where you were at the same time there with Julie Renee. So you're off on the diagonal, but
Mhm.
Julie comes on. Was that kind of cool? I always kind of look up to her a little bit.
Yeah, so I actually met her back in the fall. Oh my god, I wanna say it was around September. I did a posing clinic with her in Austin, and it was the first time I met her. I actually didn't know who she was then, and then I was like, "Oh, she's this big IFBB pro wellness," and then I started realizing she has this podcast, and so I started getting into her. Um, But yeah, I met her and actually had a picture with her in September and then got a picture with her back in the show. And I was like, wow. And then just kind of got to talk with her. I mean, she is so real. Like
She is.
she does not beat around the bush. She tells it like it is. Very open. And I even told her, I was like, thank you for being real and open because,
She's very comfortable in her skin.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and she's all like, look, I'm not perfect. I have this, I have that, I do, and you're just like, oh, wait, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be this amazing person I have to look like all the time. I can just be me. And I even told her, I was like, thank you for just teaching me how to be me, teaching me how to love myself. And like she has that podcast, Know Your Power podcast. I mean, I was on cardio listening to that all the time. And I was like, it changed me. So for her to have that, like that gateway to open up to for women and for anybody, it was another blessing.
Know Your Power. That's a good name.
Yeah, Know Your Power podcast. And it's her with her friend Kendall. And they just talk about just different topics, but just again being like, if this doesn't suit you, you don't need to, they talk about Instagram trends and TikTok trends, and they're just real. And they talk, they give their opinion. They're like, look, this is our opinion. We're not certified doctors or anyone, depending on the topic and stuff. So it's really cool to just see that here are these high end athletes, these higher, successful people, I guess I could say, and they are able to say, hey, this is how I did it. And you're like, oh, okay. Or if it doesn't work for you, it's okay to make mistakes. So they're like, just know your power. They always end, just know your power, love yourself. And you're like, yeah, especially in those hard times.
Mm-hmm. There was, I was reading, there was you were thinking at one point,
Mhm.
I don't know, 2 years ago, a year ago, that competing seemed impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? What was going on there?
So around that 2 years, that's when my mom passed away. And before that, I was kind of losing weight. I got with a nutritionist, started losing weight, but then my mom passed away. Everything kind of went out of whack. Started gaining weight. And I just always, even just for so long, I could never get to my dream body. I could never thought I could lose the weight. Um, and I was like, I just told myself, I was like, I could never do that. I could never go on stage and do that. And then just with the right amount of support, with the right amount of people saying, just do it and talking to the coach. And they're like, yeah, you can. And then I thought, you had to be on all this stuff, you had to get plastic surgery, you had to, and then people are like, even like there's people around you, they're like, why would you do that? You would never do that. So those thoughts get in your head and then you start doubting yourself. So that's why I was like, oh, I could never do this. I don't think I could ever, take the time even to diet or to do the cardio because at the beginning I hated cardio, but now I actually enjoy it. Strange. And, but now I was like,
You
wow,
don't hear that very often.
you don't. It's not my favorite still, but I've learned
Yeah.
to appreciate it because I know what it does. And you have to learn how to, you got to remember the why. So kind of just going back and then just saying, hey, I'm going to do this. And I honestly thought, I was like, I'm just going to do this one show. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But then I ended up just loving the process, loving the journey. And especially when I was on stage, I was like, oh, yeah, we're doing this again. Um,
Yeah, you chose a really good show too.
I was really pleased.
Pre-shows do a pretty good job.
They did amazing. And everyone said it before I even went to the actual show. They're like, oh, they run so well. It's a great, they're like,
It's weird. I'm actually having trouble remembering the show because last weekend we covered another pre-show show. So it's like
they all kind of,
they're all, yeah.
well, now it's like the seasons, like they're almost like back to back to back now too. So
yeah, this one was in Pasadena.
yes.
Yeah. I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember it that well. I remember you. But this past show was pretty cool. The guy, this was the Southwest.
Southwest. That wasn't in Plano.
It was in Plano. It was been in Arlington forever, but no, it was in Plano. The men's physique overall was like, I was really happy to talk to him.
Really?
He was so kind and just, his body's ridiculous. And then, The wellness overall was really cool person,
Yeah.
and
There really
you're
are, like, it's kinda crazy because I feel like bodybuilders get this stereotype of, like, we're just a bunch of meatheads, we're kind of just stuck up, like, y and I'm like,
and
"Oh,
there are some of those too.
they are," but majority of the time,
Yeah.
I think we just have that sorry, I don't know if I'm we just have that resting bitch face, sorry if I don't know if to curse or not, but we do,
Mm.
and, especially when we're in the gym, we're just so focused because 'cause we're like, "We gotta get this done." Especially when you're on prep, you're tired, you don't have a lot of energy, but you're like, "I have to do this." So we're just zoned. We learned how to zone everything out. So that's why I think sometimes we do look kinda stuck up, and they're like, "Oh, you're actually a really nice person," or you're like or, we do y it's just kinda we come off like that, but in reality, it's just like, no, we're just really cool people. I met so many there's actually so many pros at my gym that I was, like, so scared to talk to, so I was like, They're pros, I'm just a amateur, I don't know if they're gonna wanna talk to me," and they're like, "Oh, come over to we need to get a workout together," and that's how it was backstage. They're just because 'cause we're all going through it together too. So, at the end of the day, there's a good amount of people in this community that's gonna support you um, and just wishing you, "Hey, you got this," because it is hard. And even though you are maybe competing against people, you still gotta be there. You guys still gotta be there for one another. So if you can't be or if someone else is not gonna be there for you, you be the good person, be the light
Mm.
and everything. So I know there were some girls backstage that was like shaking. And I was like, "Hey, we got this. We're up there together. Let's just do it together." Um, but
That's cool.
mhm.
I don't think I have anything. I wrote down what in the world is, are you ready for this?
Okay.
Manitoua Incline. Am I pronouncing that right? 2,744 steps.
Oh, that is a
Did I butcher that name?
it's okay. That is a
Manitoua.
I could probably be pronouncing it too wrong, but it is a it's in Colorado.
Mhm.
It's literally this giant stairway on a mountain. It is like 2,000 steps. So you're literally just, it's like hiking, but you're on stairs and it's steep. Uh, so my sisters live in Colorado. So they do all the hiking. And so they're like, "Hey, we're going to go do this hike on I can't even pronounce the name off half the time." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine." And I was like,
How
"We
long did
got
it take?
I did it in an hour." I was actually pretty impressed with that. I was like, "We're gonna go." So if you ever want the Stairmaster, you just gotta hike that and everything. But yeah, I was like, so you had to almost you park in this one spot and then you actually take a bus to it, and then you're just like, "Oh, okay, we're hiking this." And then you get to the top. I mean, it is beautiful though. Colorado is just so gorgeous, but you just see this mountain, and then you see like wildlife. They're like, "Oh, you might see a bear." And you're like, "Okay." From one from Texas, you're like, "A bear?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah," and they're all like natives, like, "Oh, yeah, we see a bear all the time." And I'm like, "Okay." But yeah, it's literally just steps. And then while you're stepping, it's like, you're at step 1,000 or you're at step 1,500 and everything. So then you make it to the top and you just overlook everything. You're like, wow. And then you realize you got to go back down.
Mm.
But there's a different way you go down. But still, you're like, I still got to go down 2,000 plus steps. So
But it's the exact same thing, basically.
almost.
Yeah.
You're just not stepping, you're just zigzagging down
Mm.
but maybe having to jump down on rocks and not trip on rocks and stuff. So, yeah.
Mm.
But that was fun. I only did it once, and my sister's like, "You're doing it again, you gotta beat your
You have
time."
one sister or both of them?
Both of my sisters done it, but my one sister always does it, my middle sister. She, um, they always have to beat their last time. So they've actually done it, her and her husband, they've done it, and they're like, they have to beat their last time. So they're like the first time there was like an hour and a half or something, like, "Okay, now we have to beat that one." So it was like hour and 15 and then an hour, and they're like, "We gotta get under an hour." So, they're like, "All right, Katie, you gotta show us what you can do." And so I was like, "Okay." So I was just trying to she was already up there a little bit before me, and I was like, "All right, we're doing this." So and then it was hard because Colorado is such a higher altitude that the oxygen level's
Mm.
different.
Yeah.
So, just breathing was just that was the most difficult part, and I was like even just working out up there too. So I had to hit the gym a few times, and, your normal maybe starting off weight, you're like, "Oh." this is weird just because of the oxygen level. And I came back to the gym and I was like, I can't lift my same weight. And they're like, and my sister, my oldest sister, who's a physical therapist and knows all this, she goes, well, your oxygen level is different up here, and started doing the whole scientific on me. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I get back to Texas and I'm like, yeah, I can do it. So, but yeah, it was really fun.
I think all three of y'all, your two sisters,
Mhm.
y'all look pretty similar.
Everyone says that. I don't see it, but everyone says that we look alike.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Katie, Sarah.
So Sarah's the oldest,
Okay.
the Abby's the middle, and then I'm the youngest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So 3 girls. My dad got stuck with all girls, and at one point it was even a girl dog.
Yeah.
So bless my heart, my dad made it. He always says, he goes, this part is the gray for Abby, this part is for Sarah, and all of this is for Katie. And I was like, okay, I'm not that much. But yes.
I wonder if you said he was front row at the show?
He was front row. So it was really fun. He bought the VIP tickets. Because when I was first going to the show, I was supposed to do it with a friend. Things did not work out. So I was just going to do this show by myself. I was going to drive down by myself and do it. And my dad's like, well, one, you're not driving by yourself. So he's like, I'm going to come with you. And I mean, even back up, my dad is super conservative. So telling him I'm going to compete as a bodybuilder in a bikini and heels, it was kind of hard to tell. I was like, yeah, so I'm doing this. And he's like, what? But I think he understood. First, he was like, I don't know about this, but he saw the amount of effort and the determination I put in. So he was like, oh, it's actually, and I think he saw how it was changing me for the better and how much happier I was when I was doing it. So then he became, okay, I understood. And then when he was there, he was kind of like, oh, wow, they are different people. They're all committed. They're all determined. There was even an amputee there. She had a
I was just
amputee.
to mention that. That's
Yeah.
just on my brain. She was in your class.
Yeah, she was. And she was, I mean, and that's what I mean. I'm like, anyone can do this. And then he was just like, this is so cool. I mean, he was even like, well, what do I need to do to maybe even like kind of start,
It's an interesting thing competitors do, because it's at face value, it's like,
because
but then you learn more about it. You're like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Because I thought the same thing. When someone was like, you need to compete. And I was like, no, that's so silly. That's so weird. And then you kind of get more into it and you learn about it. And you're like, wait. And then I kind of thought, I was like, wait, it's kind of also like cheerleading. You only have a certain amount of time on stage. And you have to look all nice and pretty. And then, but do all the hard work behind stage and everything. So I was like, wait.
Did you use Protan?
I did. They were great.
Cool.
That was really great. It was a fun experience too. And I was like, what do I do? How do I do it? Super easy. But yeah, so my dad was just he was there front row taking videos.
So the stage,
Mhm.
stage is here, and then we have James Allen Media has a camera like right in the middle. Do you know if your dad was sitting to the left or the right? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question.
So if I'm facing the judges,
Yeah.
he was off to my left.
Oh wait, off to your left.
Yeah. So if you were facing the stage, he would.
No, not dang it.
So if I'm looking at the stage,
was he more towards the middle a little bit?
yeah.
That's kind of interesting, because that's kind of where I sit, like in front, behind the judges. I wonder if my head's in his video.
You might. I'm gonna look back to the videos and see. I'll be like, hey, look.
My head might be in some of his.
Yeah. I mean, he was even like kind of doing the like getting up. Do you remember have you seen Mean Girls?
I don't think I have.
Okay, well, there's a scene where like the mom is like videoing like the Christmas play, and she gets up in the aisle and is all like doing it, and like I don't know. That's kind of how I just feel like my dad. He's like getting up. He's like, okay, trying to move with me and everything, and he's like, I tried giving different angles, and I was teaching him how to like do the lighting and like the change from like HD to 4K, and he's like, you can do that? I was like, yes. But I mean, with you probably know a lot more about that and how to do that more than I probably know,
But I haven't served overseas.
Oh, yeah, he has done that. So, yeah, he was served for 27 years in the Army, retired as a lieutenant colonel. So, I mean, I think that's where I got a lot of my determination and just focusing he was from him too. He's like, if you have a goal, you're going to set to it and do it. And so I was like, yeah.
Very cool. Do you
Mhm.
think he'll be at the next one?
I think so. I asked him, he actually asked me, he turns to me, we're in the car driving home. He's like, "So when's your next show?" I was like, "Oh, so you now you get it, right?" And then I told him, I mean, I got 3rd in the open class, missing the national qualification by 1 place. And I told him that, and he was like, "Oh, man," like, he was like even I was like, "Hey, but 3rd for my first one? I mean, not bad." So he's like, "Okay, so next time you're getting it." I was like, "Oh, yeah. Next time I'm coming for it all," and stuff. So that's why I'm, like, really excited to start this new journey with the new coach, and, I mean, we've been already in communication, and she's like, "We're gonna get started. We're gonna get going. We're gonna," you know, I was like, "Oh, we're happening." So,
Mm,
I'm like, "Stay tuned because it's gonna be a next level of Katie coming at you."
nice.
Yes.
Do you wanna add anything else?
Honestly, this is just so cool, just this experience, and I just appreciate you, I mean, doing that video, doing what you do, and just honestly reaching out. So this is just an amazing opportunity. I wanna thank the Phil Heath Classic for an amazing production, an amazing show. They do truly care for their athletes. They understand what it takes because themselves were bodybuilders too. Um, and just the athletes, everyone there was just they were all so gorgeous, so amazing. And I just wanna thank my family too. I couldn't have done it. Even my friends, just the community, my community has been there, and I could have not done it without them. So I love you guys, and I'm just ready to do it all over again. So,
That's cool.
yeah.
Cool. There was a few times on stage, when it was you were walking off, you would, like, do this and bow or something. Um, let's end with that. Just do that right now.
So it was like just a quick little thank you, and then just like, here we are. Like, thank you, God. Thank you
Um,
for this is the moment. This is it. So